Welcome to memoQ Talks, where we talk to industry leaders about their experiences, lessons learned, and what works best across all areas of localization. Now here's your host.
Hello everyone, and welcome to this newest episode of memoQ Talks. My guest today is Andrea Ballista, founder and CEO of VOISEED, a European startup company developing an AI-based voice studio that can replace or dub videos with localized or in any other way changed versions of the soundtrack. We are sitting in Andrea's office in Milan, Italy. We first seriously met last year in Budapest, where I was treated to a very impressive demo by the VOISEED team at the Languages at Media conference. So VOISEED is proof that you do not need to be a tech giant to come up with professional, valuable, and scalable AI services. But before we get into this, please like the video if you do, and subscribe to memoQ Talks. You can also listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more podcasting applications. So, Andrea, if one looks at your resume on LinkedIn, they notice you have extensive experience in audio engineering, audio localization of video games, but we don't learn from LinkedIn. This is something I know about you, that you have a past as a musician, something that your LinkedIn page doesn't speak about. Still, I think your audience would love to hear about your past with music.
Yeah. So, first of all, thank you to host me today, Balas. Yes, everything started with music passion since, my father was playing piano, it was classical music, and I get in love with music, with piano, and this is the beginning of my passion for music, sound, voice, and of course, writing songs and audio in general. So basically, I started to play piano when I was a kid. And then when I was 12, I fell in love with the guitar. And I switched from the classical music to ballads, Beatles, and all these kind of things, Simon and Garfunkel, and all this kind of stuff that, as a teenager was really capturing my passion. But that was really the beginning. That was having a band, playing with the band, buy the, tape recorder, do the first session, first gig, and start writing songs. So, and that was something that was really been changing my life since on top of the music, I was naturally singing. Right. So I find myself, it's wonderful to sing. So I fell in love with the ballads and to sing, and the voice just became my love and the way to express emotions.
Right.
Together with the lyrics. So basically, that's a deep bond with the voice, the music, and how to release when you're singing the emotion, how you use the voice, the emission, the poses, and the tempo. So all these kind of things has been really part of my early days when I was a teenager. Yes, before to move on to other things. Yes.
Thank you. I will have a question about later because this is a language industry podcast. So. Yeah. That's a question I have that I only want to go into at the end.
Yeah.
In the meantime, I also see that the fascination with computers is there from the beginning. Yeah. So your page says you went to uni here in Milan, first learning about computer science and then about computer music.
Yes.
I kind of know what it feels like. I also started my journey with computers in the early 80s, but I was still a school kid. So, what was this like learning about computers and computer music in Italy in the 80s?
Yeah, the story is very special since, when it came the moment to decide which kind of career path or university you want to go through, you can do the usual things, okay? Or the idea for me was to try to join the passion and the work. Since computer science was basically coming out in those days, in 1981, it was just activated the second year of the computer science course. Okay. So I joined the faculty as a teenager, a 19 years boy, and try to discover something. So, but the idea was how can I make a kind of joining force between the passion and a potential job. And so computers were basically used for, let's say, describing musical score, writing music, and basically the MIDI, the musical instrument digital interface, was still not out, and of course there's a lot of synthesizers for sine and cosine, let's say, sound that is very special. So it was not what we use as synthesizer, while analog synthesizer was coming out. So it was a real discovery. Since, of course, before to land in the computer music itself as, let's say, a final work for thesis, I go through all the computer science, say, basic and foundations. And then at the end of the 80s, say, now it's time to jump and find a Macintosh. The Macintosh was basically coming out in that days. And they have an incredible, say, interface with menus and all these kind of things. So it's really fascinating. Since other computer interface was a kind of DOS-like, so command line and all this kind of stuff. So basically, I fall in love with the Macintosh. I fall in love with, let's say, the MIDI and the sequencing. So MIDI sequencing, like able to represent symbolically the pentagrams and the notes to drive synthesizers to create sounds. So, and organizing that kind of information in a time sequence was really fascinating, since it was the first MIDI sequencer coming out, and the first synthesizer, and the first samplers. So you can capture the sound, organize the sound on a keyboard through a device, and control by a little Macintosh computer, a Macintosh Plus, I remember. It's just external hard drive and floppy disk. That was really fascinating. And that was the beginning of, let's say, my landing in the computer music. That was basically opening the door for the multimedia age that was coming in the 90s. Sorry for that. That was really cool. And I've been graduating in a laboratory that was the only place in which there's really a cool, say, environment. There's a Laboratorio di Informatica Musicale, and it's called Computer Music Laboratories. And that is where I do my, say, graduation final work. And it was an amazing journey, really fascinating. Yes.
Thank you.
Super welcome.
This is like extremely fascinating. You couldn't learn anything like that at university and in Budapest, unless there was something in music academy that I don't know about. So, but not at the engineering school I went to. They only started their computer science program in 86 or 87, something like that.
Let me add one thing. Since at that time, computer music was a kind of, it is not computer science. Since you had the computer guys that was, say, the algorithm and for, say, searching and all the other kind of things. So computer music was a kind of new thing. This is not computer science itself. And now it's coming up as a new discipline very strongly. But at the beginning, the academy was not so cool, not so welcoming, this new discipline, that it was kind of, but you're playing with sound and computers. You are not a real computer guy doing algorithms.
When you learn about all the interfacing between digital and analog sound, then one of the hardest thing for me to grasp in mathematics at the engineering school was signal processing.
Yes, I know.
So and all about analog to digital and digital to analog conversions, all the kinds of noises that were created. That was fascinating, and that was higher mathematics. So
I know.
So by the time I got there, it was obvious to everyone that this is hardcore science that you are doing.
I mean, since signal is something that music, this is a kind of weird discipline. So but anyway, it took a while, but now of course computer music is becoming more and more powerful. With all the musical instruments that come out, especially keyboards and everything, and sequencers, computer software, definitely computer music is there. Absolutely.
So thank you. But from the early 90s, I see a slight shift in your professional life because you went into voice localization.
Yes.
I first at Binari Sonori and then for a couple of years at Keyboard Studio. So what did this mean in the 90s up until the early 2010s? Because I don't know if it has anything to do with the fact that both of our countries are big on dubbing foreign films and series, because I only speak for Hungarians, but the population finds it really hard to learn English or German or whatever, or Spanish at a level where they could actually follow a series like that, even with subtitles. So what was this like in Italy?
Yeah, I mean, definitely dubbing has been always so important in Italy, since we Italians love to hear the voice, in the movie and the things, not subtitling. So this is an important element. But the way I basically land in localization is that, I mean, one of the things that I was in love with the voice, and the voice as basically recording studios. So the idea was to become, say, the go-to resource for doing digital audios. This binary sonori means, let's say, sound mapped in digital form.
Right.
So to become the expert that was transitioning from the tape into the digital era of the sound. And we found ourselves in a very peculiar way, also because I started to work on Philips Laboratories that was, using the Philips CDI, the Compact Disc Interactive. And there was opportunity to searching people that was able to understand computers and also audio. So it was quite a natural element to jump into this adventure and creating CDI. So basically a Compact Disc Interactive that you can read in a box that you can place near the TV. Okay, so, and this was before, it was just after compact disc CD audio, but before PlayStation. But basically after Philips, the things for us was coming natural. So who is really needing a lot of audio in the digital form, in the CD? And we found that the game market was really receptive, since it was basically already working on a PC, and we have the floppy disk edition, and CD was coming out at that time. And so it was a kind of natural landing zone in which computers was a good ground, and electronic entertainment to use our skills of being expert of computer guys, of computer science, and voice and audio, and try to put the voice into computer games. At that moment, all the dubbing industry was still going on tapes. And computer games were, these are just computer games. They are not art. And of course, we can open big things on this topic, but that time we were innovators, since we were the one that was bringing entertainment in a digital form on computers with the voice and the audio. And that was really the beginning. And then, starting this, we found that the localization market was really something that can let you dub the video games. So we built our studio. We found our way through the, first conferences about video games. And we make our way in the, entertainment market as Binari Sonori, as the one that bring audio into the game market in a professional environment, recording voices. And then we found key clients, and we basically started to do not just Italian, but French, Italian, German, Spanish, and then expanding according to the industry. So we saw the creation of the global gaming market, since started from little local entities that were basically relating with local distributors, growing up and become global, and then land in Japan and the US, and covering the entire space, and then mobile gaming and all the rest.
Yes.
It was a big shift.
We have been seeing that, but it really was. But that means you said earlier that you fell in love with the voice, and how this is pervading the experience when I let it be music, let it be games, let it be films or series.
Absolutely.
But what I'm also hearing is that you weren't just interested in the voice part, but language comes in the picture as well. And
Absolutely.
and in this might come strange from me because we are into localizing written language, but to me, someone who has been trained in linguistics, in the end, the most fascinating part of language is the one that we don't often encounter in everyday language technologies because they are built on written language.
Yeah.
Even when you have a so-called multimodal LLM, then they are trying to translate the sound, the image, the video into a kind of written language so that they can process it with the same model.
Yeah.
But the most fascinating aspect is the voice, the prosody, the intonation, and all those aspects of communication that are not in the words when you see them written down. So VOISEED's message says on your website that you bring virtual voices to life with authentic emotions and natural prosody. So how did this become your passion? And is this in any way a return to your roots in music, computing, and audio engineering?
Yeah, I think, Balas, you got the point. Since sometimes it seems that the entire life I spend is just prepare myself for the tomorrow day. So the pool of experiences we have been gathering, and as I was starting with the voice, since I was a singer, I'm a singer. And I love to sing. And when you sing, you need to deliver the emotion, with the mission. So that tension in delivering the voice has been always something I felt deeply inside, since it's definitely super important. And basically, when we say started VOISEED, it was a 2020, and the idea was fascinating ourselves was, but now we see the computer can produce good speech with AI, but what about emotions? And emotion was the missing dot, and how to elaborate emotion and study emotion. Since if you need to deploy emotion into an AI space, you need to understand what is an emotion and how emotion are delivered through voice. So we spent, let's say, the first couple of years in studying emotional models from Homo sapiens. So this is something that is basically common to all of the human nature, and try to understand the essence of the emotion and how the emotion are the one that are driving our experience into the external world. So we are always relating to the external world for the danger and all the kind of things, the joy and the feelings through the emotion. Then, of course, we have language and cultures that makes the way you express the emotion different. So before to start all this new journey, say, let's represent a symbolic way by which emotion can be described through the computers. So like, say, musical instrument, digital interfaces mapping the little notes you can place on the pentagram, we are basically finding a way to describe an emotional model, a symbolic model to describe emotion, leading to the synthesizers, the human and the phonatory system to express emotion. So this is basically joining the dots of this experience, and basically has been the core of the beginning of VOISEED. And this is still going, since it's still discovering, since once you've done that, we've been able to build our data set driven by emotion. So capturing all this and try to train our AI on a clear set of emotion that we already been organized and pre-organized before recordings in multiple languages. And this was a really important thing.
As a computational linguist who deals with mostly written language, I have a question about that. But before we get into that, I'd like to ask your experience as audio director with Keyword Studios, because that's one of the biggest game localization companies in the world. And I was trying to imagine what the work of the audio director encompasses, and I couldn't. So Can you explain that?
Yeah,
Also, how it actually
sure.
led to, because I'm pretty sure that that experience was also conducive to you creating your own company. So
Absolutely.
how did it happen?
From Binary and VOISEED, that has been, as you say, a very big experience, since that basically Binary was growing and was already dealing with multiple languages and recordings, joining the speech and the voice and the motion in multiple recording studios. And let's say that everything happened pretty natural, since we basically met the Keywords team in 2012, 2013, and even before, through conferences.
Yeah.
And Binari was basically focusing on AAA games with, say, huge amount of audio. Keywords was basically at the time, working on the mobile and doing testing.
Right.
So it was, oh my God, this is a perfect fit. Since if we join forces, we can do something bigger. And so we basically find ourselves as Binari joining Keywords. It was, say, May 9, 2014.
Right.
And the idea was to build something that was not existing in the industry. So a great vendor that would have been able to do multiple services.
Right.
So translation for mobile, translation for AAA, voice recording in multiple languages, and language testing. And then, of course, that was the beginning. And Keyword at that time, after going public, on the London Stock Exchange, and that was really growing and had the chance to grow a lot. And I found myself, say, as an audio director, in the position to, say, support the vertical integration of Keywords in doing M&A on local studios, since voices are, say, performed through the local actor community.
Yep.
So basically, to have a vertical integration in the key territories was one of the things. And I was directly engaged with this process. At the same time, try to make studio working together, and try to organize a first service package for game localization. On top of this, as audio director, the idea was, but games audio is not just localization voice, is the source recording. So we are expanding in Los Angeles to do the source voice recording. And after this, then build system to streamline the process from the source voice recording to the other territories. And on top of this, also taking care of music and sounds.
Right.
So you have in the game engine, in Unity, and of course, also the Epic one, Unreal, the possibility to create sound landscapes.
Right.
So what's happening in a computer when you go into a level and hear the sound of all the things and objects, you can find sound of the voices fading in, fading out, and you're going through the level, and voices are carrying the user through the experience. And when you meet monsters or other things, they need to have their voice.
Right.
And they need to interact with you. So this kind of things was really intriguing and fascinating. So, and then at the end of the day, we've also started to step into in what we call, say, media entertainment. Since
right.
When you have the recording studios on a global perspective, and you have localized voice, source voice, music and sound effects, integration, then, but we can also do dubbing for linear media. And
right.
Linear media are totally different, since you know where it starts, how it evolves, and how it ends. While interactive media, when you do scripting music for interactive media, how can you do the music for the interactive media? You don't know when the key thing is going to happen. So you're building stems, and you use the system to put together the stems to bring the tension up in the proper moment in which something is going to happen, and to do the dynamic mixing with all the audio elements so that it can be delivered to the users with the perfect, delivery to make the user experience for the gamers best. And of course, all this with the proper language.
Yeah.
Since it's not just sound, it's a speech. So the speech is the bridge between the voice and the language. And how we deliver speech in a game is definitely super important, especially since, how many ways you can have to say, hello, how are you?
Well,
1,000.
yeah, I mean,
Multiple.
infinite.
Infinite.
Pretty
Yes,
much.
exactly. So that's it. So
But
that's a
we-
kind of fascinating thing.
You usually say that set is probably finite, but not bounded.
Yes.
Doesn't have an upper
And-
bound.
And there was an interesting speech, and you guys say preserving the spell of the game experience. Okay, when you enter the game, localization sometimes you don't have to understand that it's being localized, but if it's not done properly, it breaks the spells. Okay,
Oh yeah.
suspension of disbelief is something that is important to be preserved in a game experience. So you basically cannot break it. And of course, good speech, good words, and good delivery together with the game experience makes the, say, suspension of disbelief real, so that the game experience can flow and let the user enjoy the game. Yeah.
Yeah. So here's my question about from the traditional computational linguistics perspective,
Yes.
because what you have explained makes it clear that yes, the emotion, the melody, the intonation, the prosody, makes it or breaks it in a game,
Yeah.
or even in a film that is
Right.
dubbed.
Yes.
So, but then you need to have it in multiple languages. And
Yes.
for instance, what your product VOISEED does is it does transcription.
Yes.
And then a transcription means that you get the written word out of the voice. You have it translated with whatever means. You have integrations with machine translation, but you can also have human translators, processors working on them.
Absolutely.
You can integrate your system with translation management systems,
Yes.
whatever. But then it means that the words are translated, but what happens to everything else?
Yes.
Do you include any kind of that in the transcript, so that, for instance, if you have a translator and the transcript detects that there was a change of tone, change of emotion, and then the translator knows that this has to be somewhere else in the target, because simply the target language is structured differently.
Yes.
What happens here?
Yeah. I mean,
What do you include in the transcript, and what is preserved only as metadata that you put back in the background?
we are touching the essence of this, since, of course, in the process, we found that if you want to deliver a great experience, I think to have human in the loop or human at the core is still very important. But of course, AI is a tool, so definitely let empower the users and human to create more content to more enjoyable, say, audience. So we capture basically the software is analyzing the voice track, and the music track is separating things and creating the stems of the line. So identifying the who is speaking through the diarization part of it, and creating what we call a script template that you can edit them. And when it's creating the script, there is basically a series of lines that each of the line has its own words and its own characters, and each line is delivered through a certain emotion. So if you are in the dubbing environment, definitely the system is able to, let's say, analyze the source emotion and tag this in the script that is being created. This analysis of the text and the emotion is that brought to the target space, and then, of course, the users, also the user of the platform, can adapt the text so that to make it properly worded. The length is definitely a critical element. So there's helps in the platform that can help the operator to understand exactly how the things can be done, and then suggest multiple takes that you can, say, pick up and say, I like this one. So we are basically, say, pushing a lot in training and upskilling linguists to become more able to use these AI speech editing tools. And this is a very critical thing, but the software is basically putting all this emotion together. And there's two ways to go through the software. for the dubbing side, when you have already a version spoken by a human, so you can detect and transfer, or you can start with the text and plug in symbolic information to deliver the output like a kind of voice director. So I want this line spoken in this way. Okay. And doing this, the symbolic language is extremely useful, since you can basically tell the model, like it was being a kind of virtual voice, to deliver that text in this way or not. So you are basically directing the AI model and push it. Okay, like you're getting a prompt. Okay,
Basically, yeah.
you're basically an emotional prompt that is well described, and the system is trained to expand the emotional prompt that is start from a symbolic way, so pretty easy, into the expression. So what is the prompting scenario when you're dealing with speech? It's not just a text prompt. It can be a text prompt, but it can be also something different, or it can be another, say, WAV file that you can push as a prompt. So it's an audio prompt together with an emotional prompt. So you can mix a prompt to drive the model to deliver what you are supposed to do.
So these are easy text prompts, or what kind of learning does it take to be able to introduce the emotion and the intonation into video where you insert voice from copy, so you don't have a previous speaker, like you said.
So what we've been trying to, starting from the emotion, try to define the emotion language that is able to drive the expression. So, and we try to do as simple as possible and as predictable as possible. Since if you are going into the professional environment, okay, you know what you want. You're not just letting the AI to drive. You want to tell the AI what to do. So it's very important to define the language. So it has to be an easy language. So, and the core emotional language is easy to be implemented, to be communicated. And then you can go, and once you have been picking up the emotion that you want to deliver, try to also push the intensity of the emotion. And we can't forget, since it's a voice language model, that also the voice language model itself is semantic data. So,
of course, it is.
The mix between the meaning of the words, the emotion, and the intensity of the emotion will create the final delivery. And this is given, okay, as a tool to humans. So this is a new tool. So we need to train people to understand, and to train linguists, especially, to how to deliver the speech and not the text. And this is a journey, and we are putting together all the elements to that, then being able to tell, oh, this is how you can speak. If you can talk and direct a voice model, how you can direct a voice model. This is the language and the tools that you have, so that if you want the model to produce that kind of thing, you can tell him, you can have multiple takes and then choose the one you prefer, with the pauses, with the emphasis, and all this kind of stuff.
This is something I didn't include in the script, so don't answer if you don't want to. But I have to ask this. What this tells me is that you can create authentic human-sounding voice without kind of, and I will be vulgar here, stealing an actor's voice. Like you know, we had this debacle with OpenAI allegedly stealing Scarlett Johansson's voice, and I have to ask this: what is your take on that? And has there been any kind of exchange? I don't really want to put any emotional load into that with voice actors. So how is this related to voice actors, especially as you brought up earlier that yes, game studios use local voice studios, local voice actors. So how does the two come together?
I mean, first of all, we've been training AI using a data set with consent, and we started a lot of time ago. And we are not using one specific element. we have been creating what we call the voice space, the emotion space, and the language space. These are, let's say, symbolic representation, latent
layers, if you want.
And so they do not belong to anybody specific. Is a model and has been a patented model. This is very, very important to say. But the idea for us is to voice the unvoiced, and we don't want to steal anything,
Right.
but we want to give the user more content in their
Yeah.
native language, since at the moment it's not possible. So, of course, actors are great, and if you want to portray a character personality with crafting the emotion at the bones,
Right.
humans.
That still needs to be human.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way.
Yeah.
No way. I mean, humans are the best and will be the best since we are the one that build the system. But of course, you know, AI can be trained to learn something. So when you have, say, a shouting, say, line, it's a shouting line. So you don't need to have, say, the great actor ever is a shouting line. And sometimes you have 4,000 shouting lines. It's a stressful work. So maybe for this type of content or for really easy speech, that can be useful, especially for minor languages. Okay.
Yep.
Since maybe not all the territories, even in Europe, can have the luxury to have the game or the content translated and voiced in that language.
Yeah.
And this is also bringing accessibility. Since there's accessibility act is coming out, not just the AI Act. So how you can put the things together. So I think that you need to have an ethical approach, understand where the data are coming from, be really clear and open on that without stealing things to anybody, since this is something that is not good. Okay.
No, it isn't.
So definitely is not appropriate, but definitely to give more the users more voices in more languages, content that without this could have not be accessible. I think that is definitely something that, and there's so many languages in Europe, since Europe is, let's say, the nest of multiple languages, since getting together to doing something bigger, and this has been very important.
Yeah.
So actors are the best. At the same time, they can process all the content that has been produced. And also, just think about interactive content. Now everything is tailored to the users. How you can record stems.
They don't plug a voice actor into an interactive environment.
Correct.
That is true.
It's impossible. It's basically impossible.
That is true. But I think it was really important to be said, and also I really like this tagline when you said voicing the unvoiced. That is really important.
This is the thing. Yes.
And that leads me to my next question, because you are say what you will, but you are running an AI startup.
Oh yes.
Absolutely. And I have and I usually ask this of AI people that I talk to.
Yeah.
What is your view of the developments in AI at large? Where are we going? Where should we be going instead? If that is a different direction. And one of the reasons I'm asking that is that I'm yet to meet a tech person who is fully satisfied with the way things are going, myself included.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's a tough one. At the same time, we are part of the environment, part of the industry. So let's say that there's still a lot to do, and still a lot to do also for the AI Act that is coming out. And as every builder of things and objects who is building, say, tools, need to be responsible, okay, and advise the user about what they're using. And this is extremely relevant since the AI Act is coming, and I think that will contribute to create more clarity on what we are designing, what is the kind of usage, and from where we're starting from, and customizing solution and give to the consumer and to the user the best information. When you go to buy food, when you go to buy a car, okay, everybody is responsible what you have built. This has to be applied to the AI system. So who is building the system need to be responsible to what is the outcome of the system.
Responsible and accountable. Yeah.
Yes, and this is extremely relevant. So, and there's a lot to do about that. But I think that something is moving. Of course, the planet is becoming more complicated, okay? But
All
I
the
think
time.
that, yes, AI Act is putting a very important things, and especially for the business to business application, who is able to integrate something like the voice that is not a kind of certified about where this voice is coming from. I can sell it or I can sell it. I can put it in a package or not. I mean, this is say, everything we do. If you're buying a car, if you're buying a food, is something good for us, since I need to feed myself and my body and my kids, I need to have info.
Yep.
I need to have
Absolutely.
visibility and to be in the condition to choose what I want to have. So this is the big thing. I understand that new systems are more complicated, yes, but we can't forget the systems are built for the people.
Yep.
And if we see the world from the people perspective, people need to be informed. And there's a lot to say about that. But yeah,
Yep.
that's the thing that I wish that can be, say, driving the innovation, visibility, and have human at the core of AI. It has to be also in the cockpit, as we said in Brussels, okay? But we need to drive AI. AI is a tool to let us achieve our targets. So we need to empower the people to use good AI tool to do things faster, okay, and better for the sake of everybody. So that's the thing.
Thank you. No,
Super
it's-
welcome.
Yeah, absolutely. We are closing in on the end of the interview,
Yes,
and
sorry.
I want to no, don't be. I want to get back to music
Oh yes.
because absolutely this is where it started, and I basically have two things to ask: Are you making music today? And is there anything you can listen to anywhere?
Yes.
So
So, first of all, music has been, say, my first love. There's a song also starting in this way, and it's still super important for me since my brain is, is very happy when hit through music and
Yep.
audio stimulation. Since I do not work with my eyes, I work with my ears. So,
Okay.
and the way we perceive the audio is really important. Since when we are, let's say, listening to some words and speech, a part of our brain is working. When you're listening to your music, is definitely is a close contact with the brain. So you are basically not using a part of your logic of your brain. So it's hitting your, let's say, emotions
directly. Yep.
So I still sing. I sing every day, but as much as I can. I still play guitar, piano, and I still have a band. Don't have so much time to do, let's say, rehearsal and performance,
I
but
imagine.
yes, I'm still doing, and so that's definitely something that I would love to do, since it makes me feel, let's say, no future, no past, just play
In the moment.
in the moment and feel the moment entirely. And sometimes when you're very busy in doing multiple things, to feel the moment and forget about everything is the things we have to need to do, since you have to feel your body, your friends, and playing together is a sense of communication that is very, very strong. And yes, and that's important. The second part, I mean, I've done my let's say CD of unpublished let's say songs. Still not let's say on the web, but I think I need to create a kind of repository for putting my songs so that people can
I'm
see.
pretty sure you don't want to do that for the drawer. So
No, but something, yes. But I mean, I've been writing a lot, and this is basically scanning my life and my history.
Yes.
So, is like a writer's write old books he was writing 20 years before. It's just a time machine, okay?
Mm.
And music has that power. So when you listen to music when you're a kid or you're a teenager, the power of transportation, and you are basically traveling everywhere, and that's it. So I would like to keep it, and and put in a good place
Yeah.
to share with friends and colleagues and people that I've met through my journey. That has been, yes, really fascinating and really like, man, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Andrea, for taking the time to speak to me. And I'd like to thank the audience for listening. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And see you in the next episode. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the chat. Yes.
Thank you for joining memoQ Talks, where we talked with industry leaders about their experiences and lessons learned to gain new insights about what works best across all areas of localization. Join us next time on memoQ Talks.